quick, off the top of your head, what video game has come out that had an entire gaming community not only talking, but playing? You might be thinking of something like Helldivers that came out last year, a recent phenomenon. Or maybe you're thinking a little bit further back to Among Us. Or maybe you're going back even further, the game that made it all mainstream, Fortnite. But this video, we're not talking about any of those. We're talking about the newest game to reach superstardom. Arc Raiders. What makes Arc Raiders have the entire gaming community begging for more? Is it the PvP? Is it the PvE? Or is it the rush you get when you find a blueprint on a free loadout? Or maybe it's that people are so tired of incomplete, half-ass games that when we finally get a complete one, we flock to it. Arc Raiders was released on October 30th, 2025. But like most games, this isn't when the hype started. Not by a long shot. Arc Raiders first started to reach the eyes of gamers all the way back in 2021 at the Game Awards. It was announced as a co-op shooter, but this didn't attract too much attention from really anyone. People like GameRanks kept track of it on their blog, but it didn't make a video release. But it wasn't until May of 2023 when a young Embark Studios would announce that they were changing the format of their game from a co-op shooter to an extraction shooter. Not long after they announced this, they would hold a closed alpha test, but it also came with an NDA, so not much came out of that. But almost a year later, in October 2024, the first tech test occurred. This is when the rumblings started. Social media began to build anticipation. The game got another feature on GameRanks, but this time, it made an anticipated videos list. And other media outlets talked about how it was the next extraction shooter. But not all the noise was good. Some places like Eurogamer, they said that they used generative AI in Arc Raiders, and that it was a danger to the gaming community. Embark later came out and said that they in no way used generative AI, and some things may have just been misunderstood in the way that they marketed it. Fast forward to April 2025. This is when another tech test would occur, and all of that noise from before was silenced. This time, people were lining up to be the first to talk about how amazing this game was. The reviews, the videos, the shorts. When it had to do with this game, there was almost no bad thing that could have possibly been said. This is what really started to build the hype. This is what got people excited for the next playtest in October. You see, when this playtest happened in October, this was an open playtest for anybody. Anybody could play in October for free, and the reviews stayed good. They stayed hopeful. But some seeds of doubt started to get planted again, saying that the PvE aspect of the game was too overbearing. It was too hard. There was a lack of content. But this noise is expected because the game at this point in October was pretty big. It was highly anticipated. People were really talking about it. So some bad reviews were expected, especially with the growing audience. But then came the release just 2 weeks later on October 30th. 2025. Players could finally get their hands on the complete Arc Raiders game, and its popularity launched into the stratosphere. On the first day, the game recorded 264,000 players on just Steam. This isn't a known AAA studio. This isn't Activision. This is Embark Studios, whose first game did really well. It's well received. People still play it to this day. It's called The Finals. This game was supposed to be a game changer, and for many it was, but it didn't quite make the impact that the hype suggested. The Finals died down rather quickly, but it still has loyal players to this day. But since the launch of Arc Raiders, the game has only dropped lower than 264,000 players, which is the amount that they started with on day one, once. And that was the next day, likely due to server issues. At the time of this recording, the all-time peak for Arc Raiders is 481,966 players. And on the day of recording this, November 19th, its 24-hour peak was 340,000 players on a Wednesday night. You see, November 16th was a weekend, and at the rate we're going, it's likely that this weekend will be a new record because the average players this week is almost 40,000 players more than the average of the first week of release. Just to compare this to another wildly popular game, Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 is doing amazing at the moment. It's one of the best games of the year, but even Battlefield 6 in the first 3 weeks lost around 1/3 of its players. This is normal. This makes sense. This is the normal progression of video games and their lifespan. They usually have some of their highest player counts within the first week of release or within the first week of their ranked season release. And then it slowly goes down to about half or less. And then if the game is solid, it stays there. We've seen this with recent titans in video games, like Marvel Rivals. Or sometimes the game releases and it never seems to cool down. We've seen this with generational games like Fortnite, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, and at the rate we're at now, it looks like Arc Raiders. In the past around half-decade, streamers have been possible lifelines for video games. If your game is dying, some streamer could come along and be your fairy game mother and launch your game back into the conversation. Or they could single-handedly carry your online presence. For games that are not already established and known, streamers not playing your games could be a tombstone. And Arc Raiders has the entire community behind it. I mean, all of the top streamers have played and have been playing Arc Raiders. The ones that play video games, at least. Even with games like Escape from Tarkov, the direct competitor and well-known GOAT, it released its long-awaited 1.0 update. The game is officially out, and it had its brief moment, but then some of the game's biggest streamers went back to Arc. So what is it about Arc Raiders that has so many people putting hours into it like it's a shift? My answer is a multi-part one. I'll start with the first thing, PvE, as I personally think that this is the deciding factor on this game's longevity. The PvE bots are firstly challenging, and they're smart. They actually feel like what they are. You see, I think it was a stroke of genius to make them actual robots and not humans of any kind, because a human bot will never act like a human. But these are robots, so they can act like robots. And that's not to say they're dumb, because trust me, they're not. But it's to say that they act as you would expect them to. There's a large enough variety of these things that you actually have to pay attention. You actually have to know their weak spots and use your brain when you have to take them out. Because if you don't, you could very quickly get jumped, and that's the end of you. You have to know what type of robots are going to do a certain thing. There's one robot where its entire job is to just call the other robots. You get what I'm saying? And all of this is happening while there's other players on the map. Other players trying to get the same loot that you're after. Which brings me to my next point. The other thing that I think sets this game apart, and that is the player experience. Along with the adrenaline pumping aspects of extraction shooters in general, playing this game as a solo or as a group has so far, for me, been the most interesting experience I've ever had in an extraction shooter. This is something I'd personally like to check back on in a couple of months just to see if anything changes and what it does change. But so far, the experience in Arc Raiders has been very communal and upfront. There are some people that'll see you struggling with bots and they'll just help you, take out some bots for you and then keep running. Some, they might yell out to you with their mic, ask if you need help. Or they might yell at you with in-game voice lines. They might ask if you want to be a team, if you want to run around as a duo and solos. And then there's some that will also act nice to you and then wait until your back is turned, wait until your guard is down, and then knock you down and take all of your loot. This, to me, makes the game feel all the more human. Because if you hear someone say something, the chances of them being friendly are a lot higher than if you hear nothing at all. If you see a raider and they don't say anything, you better be prepared for a fight. And I think that this makes the game so much more interesting than other extraction shooters that I've tried, where if you see somebody If you do not shoot first, if you don't shoot anything moving, you're probably not making it out of that raid. So the final verdict is that Arc Raiders could easily stay in the upper echelon of games for a long time, because all it has to do is stay consistent with things like maps, PvE updates for different enemies, and this game could live forever. This is an evolution of the extraction shooter genre. I compare it to like when Fortnite came out after PUBG. PUBG was already huge, massive in its own right, and it never fell off. It's still huge, it's still massive. Fortnite just went mainstream, and Arc Raiders, it came before Escape from Tarkov. But Arc Raiders, it went mainstream.